How are you?
Good. Isn't that good? Real good.
You get some?
Oh, look, who's on there?
Not me anymore.
Not anymore.
We're so bad, I hope.
Yeah, be nice to Troy, he's the owner of the camera.
I can't get everybody on the camera, I apologize, so.
That's all right.
That's all.
You
Just
can
keep
leave me
moving a
on.
little bit.
Just keep moving.
You're right there in center,
Focus on the
Steve.
table. Good.
You could zoom in on the head.
Well, I opened this up tonight because the town attorney was going to attend. I have not seen her yet, so you can get one more minute.
One more minute?
But I think it's 6:30 right now, so. Usually there's an invite to accept her, and I haven't seen her yet, so. But,
Is the glare bad? Is the glare bad?
no, it's not
He can
bad.
put his hat back on.
The two of us, it's
I know. We brighten up any room we walk in.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman, I think we could start. If she comes on board, I'll just bring her on.
We can do it.
Yes, sir.
Call to order the March 2nd meeting of the Platteville Planning Committee. If we could start this off with a moment of silence for those who serve and protect us. Give us a hand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Carter, you arrived on Teams on the computer to see if
Hi.
Hey, all right.
Sorry for that. It took me a little bit.
Mary, can we have roll call, please?
Chairman Rich Smith,
Here.
Steve Schaefer,
Here.
Sandra Smith,
Here.
Hope Morris,
Here.
Mike Helper,
Here.
Adrian Sandoval,
Here.
Troy Blum.
Here. Have we all read the agenda? If so, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tonight, we do have audience participation for public comment on items that are not on the agenda tonight. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to step forward and participate in our audience participation? That opened at about 6:32, and I'll close it at 6:33. We have one item on the consent agenda for approval, and that is the minutes of our November 17th meeting.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have two action items this evening. We're going to have a public hearing commencing at 6:33 to consider the zoning of a parcel of land commonly known as 8766 Highway 66 as agricultural holding. Troy?
Yes, at this time, if you open the public hearing and receive any comments on this, because it's a public hearing requirement for this annexation. I don't have anything at this time. I'll defer to Melissa for her staff report.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, this is kind of an interesting application because it is associated with an annexation proposal, but the planning commission doesn't take action. So you're not hearing the annexation proposal, you're hearing the zoning for that, as I kind of detailed in my staff report. The application is being brought forward by Tracy and Damian Perez. Damian is in the audience this evening. And this is for your consideration for recommendation of the agricultural holding zoning for this property. The property is located about 3.5 miles west of town, and it is currently ag property in the county, and the applicants are interested in being annexed and zoned into the town. And so the ag holding is, we believe, is an appropriate zoning for the site, because what they're wanting to do there is animal boarding, really a dog kennel, and daycare on that location. It also meets the minimum requirement of a 5-acre site in our AH zoning, because the property is 6.3 acres in size. So, currently the improvements on the property include a little over 16,000 square foot building that will be used for the dog boarding facility. I know many of you have seen that property already, because they've been making improvements out there. So in looking at a zoning for this property, there's a couple of criteria that need to be met, and I outlined those in the staff report. And we identified that the proposed zoning is necessary to provide land for community-related use, which is the animal boarding facility, and that it's consistent with the ag holding designation actually in our comprehensive plan as well. So this is an area that we've considered for agricultural purposes going forward. And so animal boarding kind of fits in that category of sustainable agricultural uses going forward. So with that, based upon the findings in the staff report and the attached resolution, we're recommending this favorably to you this evening. So I can answer any questions you might have.
At this time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Damian Perez. He's in the audience tonight. He's one of the co-owners. His wife Tracy is here tonight, but just so the Planning Commission knows, a face with the name of who's coming into the town of Platteville.
Thank you.
I've been out to the site and talked to Damian and Tracy. They put a tremendous amount of work on that property, and it looks very good. And I even heard some of the neighbors in the area were very pleased with their being there and having dogs and kenneling them and training them. So I haven't had any negative comments about this annexation or the zoning.
Do you train the dogs or the people?
Both.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes, both. The dogs are much easier.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
How's your business doing so far?
Very well. Yep, it's slow growing. And to be honest with you, the majority of what we have going on is right here in Platteville. So it's amazing just to be really involved within the community and a lot of positive feedback. It's been very, very welcoming.
Good.
Okay, so this isn't just flagpole, right?
It is a flagpole annexation, now 66. The board recalls, Planning Commission recalls, a few years ago, we flagpoled out to the St. River Bridge,
Right.
to the east of another bridge, technically, and we annexed 66 in. So this property, this 6.5 roughly acre property, is adjacent to 66, so that's how we're bringing this into the town of this. So technically, it's a flagpole. So the
Yeah.
pole's already there.
I was gonna say we're flagpole anyway, right up to 17.
Pretty much just past 17 on the east side of 66, go to the River Bridge. And Mead annexed 66 to the west side. Correct.
But that was just the right of way, this is the property.
Exactly, that was just, right away, this is the property that belonged to the Perez's. Yep.
But we did it for that purpose.
To
Make
bring
it-
properties
make it
in
easier.
that were interested, and this is our first.
Right.
Correct.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Do we have anything from the commission? Well, then I would entertain a
We're
motion.
going to close the public hearing.
Or we gotta close the public hearing. It is 6:39. but I will entertain a motion.
Move
on
to
that.
approve resolution BC 2021-01, a resolution recommending approval of an application to zone certain properties agricultural.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. We have our second resolution of the evening, which is a final development plan. We're gonna have another public hearing on the final development plan for, is that West Farm, or that's not West Farm?
It's West Farm with LG Everest as their
Yes.
owner of the property.
Yeah. I would open that public hearing at 6:40. Do we have anyone to speak in the behalf of Everest?
Mr. Chairman and the commission, Matt Noteboom and Lynn Kramer representing LG Everest is in the audience tonight to address any questions you may have.
I don't have any questions.
At this time, I'll probably defer over to Melissa to give her summary of this project.
Great. All right, so this is what we call the LG Everest at West Farms. Just to clarify that a little bit. It is a final development plan. It's the first final development plan on this property. As you might remember, the property was rezoned. Basically, we did a PD amendment last fall to allow the mining, the sand and gravel mine, as well as auxiliary operations, and this would be considered one of the auxiliary operations. So the property is on 32 and a half, just east of Old County Road 21. It is located on Lot 3, which is a 4.86 acre site. And when the PD was approved, this was identified as a shop and maintenance support facility. So this matches with exactly what they said they wanted to do. So this is a facility that's used for maintaining their trucks and vehicles. So it'll be utilized just by their staff members. It's really not open to the public. So the proposal is for a shop building that is 7,900 square feet in size with an office area for that purpose. And in looking at the criteria for approval of a final development plan, we're really looking at the compliance with the preliminary development plan or that key document that you reviewed last fall. And as I just said, it does match that pretty much exactly. So we feel confident it complies with the PD document. So based upon that, based upon the findings of the staff report, we're recommending approval of this with two conditions. One is really just to allow any minor technical or red line corrections that might be needed, kind of dotting our I's and crossing our T's. And then the second one has to do with construction of a cattle guard tracking pad, which is very typical for uses like this, where we want to just knock the mud off their trucks before they come onto the town road in that location. So there's some language associated with that. So with that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Will the entrance to that be on 32 and a half
It will be
or on 21?
32 and a half. Yeah, it's east of,
21.
I guess I didn't do a good job. There's a little bit of a vicinity map,
Yes.
but it's, yeah, it's just a little bit east of 21 on 32 and a half.
It's east of the current driveway to the residence.
Yeah, just slightly.
Yeah, there's three properties on the east side or the south side of 32 and I believe it's between the farthest west property and the
Right.
first one coming back
There's
east.
that small house on the west side that's rental,
Correct, sir.
and it's east of there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You can kind of see it on that map.
So there will be a new access to 32 and a half.
Correct, and they worked that out with Mr. Brand as he's in charge of giving accesses to properties on or adjacent to our road. So,
Will those properties still be there? Those,
that I can't answer, but Mr. Noteboom might be able to.
oh. Watch that barn fall down, I missed that barn.
At some point, it's a mining operation, so at some point they may not. But, I know when the barn fell down, there's a lot of people interested in that wood, I know that.
Yeah, generally the existing structure is allowed to be there until the mining operation begins. So Matt can speak to that in more detail if you need it.
So with you building the shop, wanting to build this, that means you're moving forward and moving faster than you said 3 to 5 years to start mining.
The mining sequence is still going to maintain that same path.
Okay.
The maintenance facility will be a support facility for some of our other operations.
Okay.
So that's why this one is progressing a little quicker. So the actual mining on that side is still ways out in the future. We still have to get through state permitting and federal and doing all that stuff, as well as coming back before you guys for the local permits.
Okay.
That process has not started yet, but we want to get the shop in for more support for some of our other sites.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
and I believe there's an existing access already there, though. It's more of a farm access right now.
There's a farm access because those are farm fields, they have been forever, so they're not really making a new access, but an existing one. I just don't remember on which one of those farmsteads it was, but you're right, it's over there.
And if we didn't push the barn down, it was going to come down really soon. It didn't take much. It's like one of these. It just kind of came down.
So you actually did knock it down? I thought maybe it went by itself.
Well, it was already coming down. We just gave it a little final nudge.
So how much traffic do you anticipate having coming in and out of there at this point before the
There's going to
actual
be
mining commences?
2 or 3 maintenance guys that report there on a daily basis, and there might be a few trucks coming in with some equipment and vendors. So I'd say 5 to 10 trips a day to the site. It's really not anything that warrants a traffic study or anything like that. It's going to be pretty minimal impact.
Do we know when mining is going to begin out there?
Nothing is set in stone. Like I said, we've got a lot of processes to get through before we contemplate when that actually starts.
A lot of permitting, I bet.
Yep, a lot of permitting.
And is there still a plan to put a traffic light on 66 and do you know?
The process on 66 and 21 is twofold. Number one, CDOT told me that intersection ranked high as far as improvements are needed, but the funding won't be there until 2024, 25 on their end. But if something else triggers requirements prior to that, that would be a discussion between CDOT, the developer, and Will County, because Will County controls County 21. Correct.
Thank you.
So we will be notified, but we won't be directly involved with that.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous intersection.
It is, for sure.
Yeah, and CDOT and the county will be more involved as the mining, before the mining begins, so we'll refer back to them. And we anticipate improvements on 21 to help, and then maybe offsite improvements as well,
That's going to be a few years down the road, probably.
right?
Yep.
Any other questions for Matt?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, again, I would entertain, let's close that public hearing. It's at 6:48.
Move to approve resolution PC 2021-02, a resolution recommending approval of the final development plan for West Farm property as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. Do we have anything else, sir?
Just quickly for the Planning Commission, the board meeting follows obviously this meeting, but I am going to mention to the board, the study session I talked to the mayor about coming up this spring, summer. I haven't set a date yet, but the purpose of that study session is to talk about development and some of the process or people or landowners I've spoken to the last few years.
Okay.
Everything from south of town, east, west, and north. That was part of a conversation I had with the board last meeting. So I want to bring the planning commission in on that because the planning commission, if development occurs outside of existing town limits, will be involved with that with zoning and items like tonight. So I will work with the mayor and Mary on and figuring out a date when we'll have that, probably, May or June, I'm guessing, but maybe sooner. I am going to talk to the board on the next meeting, which is scheduled for March 23rd. A little bit about that, but it'll be more detail with the planning commission study session.
Have we had any more retail interest, other than 7-Eleven?
I have not had any more retail as far as new retail interest or, revitalizing existing businesses. I have not had anything yet. And various factors, with COVID and the economy, but nothing new at that time. I am working with Melissa on the property we bought south of Occidental and Anadarko, that's 16 acres. Now that the detention ponds are finished on the east side of that property, or the west side I should say, I'm working with Melissa in the next few months to subdivide that property into 2 parcels. One will be the detention ponds, and the other one will be a commercial component along Main Street that the board can promote for sale or for development in the next year. So that'll be coming up in the next few months. So my wife wants a coffee shop. I don't know.
You
don't?
Those are like crazy.
I've heard everything from fast food to coffee to the grocery store, which is not going to happen. But
Just as a point of interest, Ziggy's is putting in a facility, they call it their headquarters in Meade.
Ziggy's, yeah. Ziggy's is going up quite a few places on those.
They've already scraped a lot.
Yep. And that's a brand new one up there on 37th by Walgreens at 35th.
Yeah.
Greeley, it just popped up at like.
Oh, they've got one that closer?
Yep. Right.
Well, it didn't take them long to put that up.
They're not big. They're not big facilities,
No,
so.
they're building like crazy.
But yeah, those are things that in the next few months I'll call as joint session of the planning commission and board, and try and get you up to speed on what's going on.
That's good.
Okay. And that's all I have for the commission.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Do we have anything else? Well, then, why don't we stand adjourned? You said adjourned.
Sounds
All
like.
right. Kendra, we'll take about a 10-minute break and we'll be back.